Skillsoft presents ETStudios HRConnect in association with ET HR World. A very warm welcome to our panel. Today we have HR leaders who will be spotlighting power skills and AI building tomorrow's workforce today. Now, in today's rapidly automated world, we have AI taking over all facets. So how can a human or an individual or an employee make sure that they set themselves apart? And also, how are power skills going to change and enable the workforce to tackle tomorrow? And to do just that, we have with us a very distinguished panel of leaders who will be discussing this and also addressing the sorts of challenges that they're facing. And let's see the sort of outcomes that they are presenting to the workforce today. Please join me in welcoming Mahesh Gowda, who's the head L&D at SBI General Insurance. Very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you for joining us today. We have with us Swati Agarwal, who is the country head L&D at Divyesh Bank. Rahul Baunthiyal, who is the Group VP HR at Hinduja Group Limited. And of course, Divyesh Sindhwaad, who is the country head of Skillsoft. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, today.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
An absolute pleasure to have you with us. Let me start off with a question about the new year, looking forward into 2025. We are constantly talking about AI, automation, something that I mentioned in my introduction as well. What is the sort of upskilling that a workforce needs to align with the changing era? And also, what sort of importance and emphasis is given to power skills in this context?
So, Shilpa, when you look at, given the scenario today at the world which is facing up with AI, now what I look at is power skill as more of a human skills. Right. So when you look at human skill and how are we aligned to that at SBIG, we have a couple of partners who would be knowledge partners for us. So we partner with them. Then it comes to aligning the workforce to, as an industry, insurance has always been data-driven decision making. And because of which we always had not so overtly said that AI in AI terms, but we've been working on those lines in the past as well. So I think SBIG is quite well coming up fast with equipping its people with AI technology through trainings. We're talking about three things currently. So we have partnering with our knowledge partners, those who are helping us cope with that. Then comes our the back end, which is the people side, where we are looking at equipping these people through trainings. And finally, when it comes to the front ending, which is our people, those who are facing customers, that's where we are leveraging the technology side. So this is how at SBIG we manage coping with.
All right. Thank you for sharing your approach, sir. And Swati, how do you view power skills in the context of today?
So, Shilpa, I think power skills are even more critical in the world of AI, right? Lot of things which can be automated, and the way now the new narrative is that you look at it as empowering humans to be even better at what they do, right? So I would take a minute to step back and talk about DBS's philosophy, how we kind of go about it. We don't look at it in isolation. So every year, HR goes on to a beautiful process, I would say, which we say as strategic workforce planning. And which the essential purpose of that is to look where the business is going, where the market is trending, and to meet and to do those deliverables, how your manpower needs to be ready. And from there emerges, this upskilling, reskilling. And we have been on to this AI, big data, digital for quite some time, right? We launched our first digital initiative about 8 years back, which is called Digify. And today, if I look at it in India, I think almost all the employees would have been done through that curriculum. Last 3 years, we have been on Gen AI. Again, a curriculum which is a baseline curriculum to get everybody up to the curve of what Gen AI is. And having said that, with these, a lot of focus on power skills. As I was talking, empathy is a big one that we have identified. last almost 1 year plus, where organization is doing a lot of work on building empathy, especially in our frontliners, because you're dealing with the customers all alike, be it the retail customers, be it the corporate customers, right? So empathy is a big focus because that's one aspect, I would say, the human in the loop, right? Which we think is very critical for us.
Empathy, of course, has been the buzzword ever since AI has had a watershed moment over the last 2 years. So absolutely, power skills become more important than ever in the era of automation. Rahul, Hinduja Group operates across various verticals, various industries. How do you make sure that your workforce, that is so varied in nature as well, is able to upskill and reskill to cope with the changing times?
Oh, absolutely. So I think for us, the complexities, as you said, we operate out of various sectors. We have service sector organizations, manufacturing sector organizations. We have a ecosystem which has a lot of organizations which are at a startup stage, a lot of organizations which are very evolved. And hence, there's a lot of dynamics that have to be thought about. And just to link it to what your earlier question was and how we kind of bring the two things together, for us, the definition of power skill is that how do you utilize AI and digitization in a more proficient way, right? That's the core. What are the skills you need to leverage whatever technology and tools you have currently in the best possible manner? And the way that we do it is through some centralized initiatives as well as decentralized initiatives. And when I talk about centralized initiatives, we primarily focus it basis the role of the cohort that we have to focus on. So if I talk about leadership, the kind of power skills that we will want them to focus on would be the ability to foresee how strategy will evolve, how businesses will evolve, and hence the skills that we need to develop in them, and hence the programs that we need to run with them would be linked to that. The second kind of cohort would be people who are decision makers. And that is where a lot of machine learning comes into picture. So what history has taught us is that humans are not great decision makers. We have a lot of biases. We have a lot of preconceived notions, and hence when we take decisions, all those things come into the picture. What happens with machine learning is it is complemented with a lot of data, and hence it becomes a more thought around process. And hence the focus on the middle management, which are taking those decisions, is get them trained on machine learning, and that becomes very beneficial. Coming to the third cohort, which is the actual implementers or the team members within the group, the focus is on generative AI. Now, generative AI tools are productivity game changers. What happens is, what one person can do, they can do 10x. And if you are able to upskill your workforce to leverage them in the best possible manner, the productivity of the entire workforce goes up significantly. So a lot of our centralized initiatives across the lower level or the doer level are focused on generative AI, the mid level across machine learning, and for the leadership level focused around decision making, strategic elements, and so on.
All right, so a tailored AI approach across the group and across levels. Interesting to note that, Rahul. And Divyesh, having listened to all our HR leaders here, in the era of automation and AI, what power skill do you think is paramount, or what should be prioritized in the workforce today?
Interesting question, and I think interesting insights from each of them. I think if I look at it, let me approach it with a research that was done by World Economic Forum. What it says is that 8 out of the top 10 skills that will be required in 2030 are going to be behavioral or human skills. Okay, there are only 2 areas which are technology specific. Now that shows the kind of focus that is required. When we talk about the roles that each one of us are performing today in their work life, okay, it's going through a complete transformation with the advantages that AI offers us, with the tools and resources that are available to us today, and all of that. And therefore, if you look at it, more and more organizations are looking at building up those capabilities which are going to be helping employees become more productive as we look at the future. But then the challenge is in terms of what is required today and what is required for the future. Again, research says that 23% of the organizations, only 23% of the organizations focus on building those future skills. Rest are busy with building capabilities which are required today, not in the future. So that's where I think, the role for organizations like Skillsoft and we are focused on in terms of identifying how those roles are going through a transformation. What are those skills which are going to be in demand in the future? How do we curate those journeys and resources and make them available to our customers so that we can meet the learners where they are and help them grow their skill set to a level where they can productively help the organizations in terms of performance and also readiness for the future to capitalize on the opportunities that the organization is looking at.
And to do that, we have emerging tech now, we have HRTech, we have AI that creates personalized learning pathways, and that really helps to meet learners where they are, as Divyesh says, and I think that's the philosophy of Skillsoft as well, right? Rahul, how do you tap into this emerging tech to make sure that your workforce is future ready?
So again, we have to look it through multiple dimensions because there's not a single answer which kind of addresses this. One thing is, which is very important, is embracing transformation and building a culture which embraces transformation, because we are a group which has been there for more than 100 years. And the reason that this group has grown for such a long duration of time is, as a culture, we embrace transformation. Right now, it is digital transformation that we are talking about. A few years back, it was operational, industrial, and different types of transformations. But as a culture, if you are ready to change, that's very, very important as a foundational element. Now, having said that aside, the next part that we need to realize today are two things, which I think one of the pieces which he just mentioned is looking at the future, and hence the leaders need to identify skills of the future, not today. Because by the time you have implemented it, the skills would have changed otherwise, right? So having a eye on the future is very, very important. And what we also need to realize is that in the future, you will never get 100% skilled employee, right? What you will get is a talent market of 60 to 70% ready person. And then those 30 to 40% areas have to be trained on, right? Imagine building a football team. I am into sports, so that's a thing I use a lot. Building a football team, the core skills that a person needs is stamina, speed, pace, right? But then you have to teach them skills and knowledge, which has to be complemented to the core element. So what will happen in the future is, and at least the way that we see it is, we'll get people who are 60, 70% ready. We will put our faith that those core skills are important to succeed and give them the necessary ecosystem that the other pieces of knowledge and skills can be developed. And when that is put into the picture, what also happens is it's an internal motivator for them also. Because if we place them there, they'll only succeed if they're able to build the remaining 30, 40% skills. So it's not just a push from our side. It's also a pull for that person, because if I want to succeed in this role, I need to kind of develop those skills.
Absolutely. And when you are trying to make sure that your workforce is future ready, it may not align with your organization's present business goals, right? So Swati, how do you tackle a challenge like this and how do you fill that gap?
So as Ritesh was talking about, and I was reading about Skillsoft and the skill taxonomy and that you've created, right? So DBS has a tool called iGrow where it uses the power of AI. So an employee is supposed to come on the tool, declare their skills and a future role. And once that is done, the system looks at the learning courses which may help the person to cover for the skill gap. It looks for the project opportunities which may exist at a future role, which would help the person experience the role and take a call whether I want to do it or not. And ultimately, it's also linked to a hiring system whereby it throws up any internal mobility which may come, which is near or closer to the role that the person wants to move in. So this tool is something which we are, focused upon a lot, because that's the answer to how you use the power of AI, and also provide something which I think most of the employees are looking for, right? That to reach at my future place, what do I need to work upon? And when that opportunity comes, it's not dependent on anybody to come and tell me. There is a system curation which throws up that, hey, why don't you apply for this, right? So that's what Divyesh is doing. Yeah.
This is also very interesting because, again, I'm just going to throw some number, the research there. Only 8% of organizations globally really have a picture or clarity in terms of what skills are going to be required in the future and what skills they have today. And that's a very big, gap if you look at it. Only 8% of the organizations. And I think that's exactly where the Skillsoft product design philosophy is also going. We call what you just described as role advisor, where you can identify a future role for yourself. You can go through a skills benchmark assessment, where the system understands using AI, what are your current skill sets which are applicable for the future job, what are the gaps, and here's the content that you can use to basically bridge the gap, upskill yourself, and then be ready for that next level. And gives you a clear dashboard at an organizational level to help you see how many people can actually pick up that job opening or can apply to that, given the capabilities that they are already having and which are already recorded on the system. So that's what. So I think this is beautiful, and this is, I think, the way a lot of organizations are going to move in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's so much uncertainty and unpredictability right now because we're at the cusp of unprecedented change and we don't know how it's headed. Right? So I'm sure the workforce also has some fears that you as HR leaders constantly need to allay. So what are the sort of challenges that you are seeing from your end when it comes to equipping a workforce that is ready for a very uncertain tomorrow?
So what we have done is at org level, we have divided these two into core and the non-core. Like when I'm saying non-core, it's the back end and the front end. So what we do is we have put up a COE approach. When I'm saying COE approach is a center of excellence in terms of sales and center of excellence for non-function, which is non-core, which is non-sales. So what we have identified is the core skills that are required for the front end and the back end. And then we have this competency framework which gives us, the gaps that exist at every level. So whether it is my front end, middle level and the top, where for each level, as I spoke in the beginning, we partner with different knowledge partners to bridge those gaps. So that's how the SBIG approach currently is.
All right. So looking forward, not to 2025, but the next few years ahead, what do you think is going to be the single biggest shift when it comes to the workforce, and how should HR leaders be thinking about equipping themselves?
So what I see today is, AI is a buzzword, and we all know that anybody who cannot use AI would be replaced rather than a person who doesn't know AI. So when we look at people, those who are resistant, and we typically see whenever the new changes or technology comes up, there are a lot of resistant to change. Now, the person who's resisting too hard is going to be replaced rather than irrespective of the age. If you are ready to hasten the speed of learning, you're going to be, moving forward. So that's what I see as a major trend that's going to be the future.
I'm going to take this across to Divyesh actually, and then I'll come back to Swati and Rahul. Divyesh, are you in agreement with that a change mindset is very important to ensure you're successful in the future?
No, I absolutely agree with that. And if you look at Gartner's top 5 priorities for 2025, building capability from a change management perspective is one of the top ones over there. And why it is important is because of the transformation that we are seeing across the macroeconomic business models, the way we operate and all of that, and ability to learn and ability to be agile and change are going to be the top areas, in fact, for any organization to focus on, in my mind.
And Rahul, you very clearly, Rahul, you very rightly said that nobody is fully equipped for a job. You need to be able to address that gap both as an organization and as an employee. right? So what are the sort of trends that you envision in the future?
No, so I think very similar to what both of them have said. Uh, I think agility and learning ability is something that has not just come up. I think it has been something which has differentiated performers versus non-performers historically as well. Uh, Also, the person should be able to leverage the tools and available resources in the best possible manner. That's what will set them apart. A lot of apprehension comes that my job will get replaced by AI and digital and tech. I think my general feeling is that it will be very difficult to replace 100% of the job. What will happen is for some jobs, 60% will get replaced, for some others, 20% will get replaced. But that 60 or 20%, the tools can do it 1,000 times better. So your productivity will kind of exponentially grow. And if you are able to leverage and tap into those pieces, then you as a performer can grow in an extraordinary pace. So there are a lot of opportunities. And even if we see the Indian ecosystem, how are we moving right now, right? We now have a digital presence in terms of Aadhaar. So we have a digital identity today, right? We have a financial identity today. All our payments and everything is online. So, and we now are building a lifestyle identity as well with social media, all the different reels, posts that you put into picture. As a country, we have a lot of talent, right? And we have a very good ecosystem for startups too. So there's a lot of talent, but there are a lot of opportunities as well. So there is extraordinary potential to grow in the country, and you just need to upskill yourself and be ready for that change. That's about it.
And you spoke about continuous learning, which is very important for an employee to stay ahead. Swati, how do you tackle challenges as an HR leader? I'm sure you've seen the same sort of challenges with the digital transformation that took place. And as how Rahul mentioned, there are these fears that the workforce will get replaced. How do you as an HR leader allay those fears?
So let me first say something which I read very interesting and all about whether AI will replace humans, and what it says that AI will not replace humans, but humans who know AI will replace humans who do not know AI, right? So I really loved that, how it came out. And so I think a lot of us are talking about the research, World Economic Forum, Gartner, you go to Forbes, everybody's talking about the future skills. AI, digital is there to stay. If you're kind of running away from it, you are taking a chance with your career. Absolutely not recommended. And a lot of organizations, that's why, are getting on to establish that baseline. And DBS, being really high on this, has already got onto this to establish that baseline into each and every employee of what a Gen AI is, what's prompt engineering. We have also launched our own GPT, by the way, right? So there's a GPS GPT, and see, some of the very intelligent usage of AI, which all of us can benefit from, is the content, is the summarization, which, we spend so much time in corporates, right? So DBS GPT, you upload a 6-pager document, it will give you a 1-pager summary or a 2-slider summary the way you want to. And again, these tools grow. So that's one thing. Second, I think all of us were talking about change. Of course, change management, being agile is there to stay. But what we need to develop, again, is a growth mindset, right? I think literature has evolved a lot in last 10, 12 years on growth mindset. And it simply says that, there is no end after a failure. You keep learning, you keep growing, you keep trying, you keep experimenting, right? That's what growth mindset is all about. And I think in DBS, we're very consciously trying to deepen that thought first at the top level and then right till the ground. That I think what we need to have is growth mindset, because this trend would keep evolving. As I was saying, 8 years back, it was digital. We got onto that. 3-4 years back, Gen AI started. 5 years later, there will be something else. So it's about growth mindset, it's about resilience, which we need to, consciously focus in our employees. And if that is there, then the trends may keep changing, I think the workforce would be able to adapt itself.
Well, that's a great takeaway, and I think everybody here is in agreement that you have to have an agile learning mindset, change mindset, and growth mindset in order to excel in the future. So it's been a very valuable discussion here indeed. Thank you so much for joining us and appreciate the time that you've given us. And thank you, dear viewer, for joining us. It's clear, the verdict is out. You need to be adaptable, you need to be agile, and you need to pivot where the trends go. And the only thing that you need to keep in mind is that you need to continuously keep learning. And also remember to continuously stay tuned to HRConnect. Thank you once again.